When you hear the name Friedrich Nietzsche, you probably picture some pretty dark, heavy philosophy, right? Well, today we're going to flip that idea on its head. We're diving into what many people think is his most personal and, believe it or not, his most joyful and life-affirming work, the gay science. So, let me ask you this. What if philosophy wasn't about carrying this heavy burden of knowledge, but was more like a joyful dance? That's the core question that's just pulsing through this entire book. Nietzsche is basically challenging us to completely rethink how we approach wisdom, to trade in all that seriousness for a light-footed, artistic celebration of life itself.
And to really get what he's talking about, we have to start with the title. I mean, it's not just a catchy name, it's a full-on mission statement. And he lays it all out for us in this really beautiful, poetic prelude right at the start of the book. I mean, listen to this. Right from the get-go, Nietzsche sets this incredibly playful, independent, almost rebellious tone. He's not telling us to follow him blindly. Nope, he's inviting us to join him on this journey of fearless individual discovery and to have a laugh while we're at it. Now, that title, The Gay Science, it actually has this fascinating backstory. Nietzsche borrowed the phrase la gaia scienza from the troubadours back in the Middle Ages. For them, it was all about the art of poetry and song. And for Nietzsche, well, it was his whole philosophy in a nutshell, to turn philosophy into an art form. It's about finding wisdom through creativity and joy, not through some rigid, life-denying rulebook.
But don't mistake this joyfulness for being naive. The theme of the prelude is jest, ruse, and revenge, which shows you that this playful spirit, it's also a weapon. Nietzsche uses humor and wit as a kind of philosophical wrecking ball to tear down the old, gloomy systems of morality that he felt were just suffocating human potential.
All right, so beneath all this joyful science, Nietzsche is pointing to a massive problem at the heart of Western culture, and he doesn't present it like some dry academic argument. No, he stages it like a dramatic scene to deliver a profound cultural diagnosis. This brings us to one of the most famous passages in all of philosophy. It's in what he calls an aphorism, basically a short, punchy insight. And in this one, he introduces a character known only as the madman, who runs into a marketplace in the middle of the day, holding a lit lantern.
And then he makes this absolutely shocking announcement. The crowd, they just laugh at him, they don't get it. But the madman isn't just making some claim about whether you believe in God or not. He's announcing a massive cultural shift, one with absolutely devastating consequences.
And this is the crucial part to understand. The death of God isn't about God literally dying. It's Nietzsche's way of saying that the entire religious and moral foundation of Western civilization, the thing that gave us our values and meaning for centuries, has crumbled. And the kicker? We're the ones who did it.
So what's the result of this? Well, it's terrifying. It's something called nihilism. It's this gaping void that's left behind when all our highest values suddenly seem worthless. If there's no divine plan, no absolute right and wrong, then what's to stop everything from just becoming meaningless? This is the massive crisis that Nietzsche is forcing us to look at head on. So you're faced with this void of meaninglessness. What do you do? Well, Nietzsche doesn't just hand you an easy answer. Instead, he gives us a powerful thought experiment, a really personal test that he calls the greatest weight. I want you to really imagine this. What if a demon crept up to you and said, this life you're living right now, you're going to have to live it again and again and again, countless times. Every single joy, every single pain, every single thought, all in the exact same order. How would that make you feel? Would it crush you, or would you think it was a divine gift? Your honest gut reaction to that idea, well, that reveals everything. If the thought of reliving your life over and over fills you with dread, then your life is the greatest weight. But if you could hear that news and greet it with joy, then you've achieved the ultimate affirmation of life. You've learned to say a huge divine yes to your entire existence, flaws and all. So the big question is, how do we get to that place? How do we get to a point where we can joyfully say yes to our lives? Well, Nietzsche doesn't just point out the problem. He actually offers a set of philosophical cures for this crisis of nihilism, a way for us to forge our own new values. And he lays it out in this powerful three-step process. First, you have to radically accept reality as it is. Then, you have to embrace a constant drive for self-improvement. And finally, you have to start seeing your own life as your greatest work of art. The first step is amor fati, which is Latin for love of fate.
Now, this isn't about just passively putting up with your life. No way. It's about actively wanting everything to happen exactly as it does. It's about seeing the beauty and the necessity in your struggles just as much as in your victories. It's wanting nothing to be different, not in the past, not now, and not in the future.
The second cure is the will to power. And honestly, this might be Nietzsche's most misunderstood idea ever. It is not about dominating other people. In the gay science, it's presented as this creative force. It's that inner drive we all have to grow, to overcome our own limits, and to actively shape our character and our world into something better, something greater. So what happens when you combine all of these ideas? Well, a new kind of human ideal starts to emerge from the ashes of those old dead values. Nietzsche calls this person a free spirit, or an artist philosopher, or a gay scientist. So what does this person look like? Well, first, they have intellectual honesty. They face the hard truths of the world without needing comforting illusions. They have this artistic vitality. They treat their own life like a work of art that they're constantly shaping. They're also playful and have a sense of humor, chasing deep wisdom with a light spirit. And most importantly, they have that life-affirming spirit. They're the kind of person who could pass that test of eternal recurrence with a huge, triumphant yes. So in the end, we're left with this final, powerful challenge. In a world where all the old maps to meaning have basically been burned, Nietzsche just hands you the pen and a blank page. The ultimate responsibility and the ultimate freedom is now yours. So what new values will you create? What will your first rule be?